Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast special edition series where I go over every team's NFL offseason preview and predictions. This is going to be the 27th of 32 shows. And this is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you guys know the drill by now. Free agents to be, team needs, franchise tag candidate, trade candidate, release candidate, extension candidate, draft fit, free agent fit, and a bold prediction for every team. And now up the Pittsburgh Steelers, as I mentioned. All right, free agents to be, not a lot of them, which is good for them. Mason Rudolph, Miles Boykin, Kwon Alexander, hang on one moment. Kwon Alexander, Chandon Sullivan, Levi Wallace. So not a lot of big names that are going to be free agents on this team, which is good for Pittsburgh. Team needs wide receiver, offensive tackle, cornerback, safety. You can make your case for punter. They have no punter right now. And you could even talk yourself in the quarterback if you think that Kenny Pickett isn't the answer. I had a hard time finding a franchise tag candidate. Them and New Orleans were the two teams that were hardest to figure out in terms of who's the franchise candidate on this team for a tag. And I came up with Mason Rudolph, which is hysterical. But I don't think he's going to get tagged, but I think he's the most likely to get tagged based on a couple of good games at the end of the season. Maybe Levi Wallace, maybe Kwon Alexander, but I don't know. That was a hard one. Trade candidate, Cole Holcomb. This was a hard one too. I think there's more release candidates than trade candidates on this team. But Holcomb was hurt last season. If the Steelers bring back Kwon Alexander, Cole Holcomb, I could see getting dealt or something. So that was the one I came up with. They signed him from the Commanders a couple years ago. Or maybe a Landon Roberts. Release candidate, Patrick Peterson. He's an older player. He's bounced around the last couple years. He was with the Vikings, and then he was with the Steelers. To me, that just screams cut. There's a couple cut candidates on this team. Him, Allen Robinson, Isaac Seumalo, formerly of the Eagles, Mason Cole. I think Larry Ogunjobi is one, so is Roberts. Keanu Neal is absolutely one. So there are some cut candidates on this team. Calvin Austin. So, oh no, I'm thinking of the wrong player. But yeah, there's a lot of cut candidates on this team for sure. All right, extension candidate. Pat Freiermuth. This is a controversial one because you're going to be saying Madison Najee Harris is up for an extension. Yes, I get that, but he's a running back, and we know how the league feels about running backs now. So I think they're going to wait out on Najee. And I think they might take care of Freiermuth first. And he is a really good tight end, and he's the tight end that they lacked after Heath Miller retired. So I think they'll pay him. They'll take care of him first. Najee is a candidate, don't get me wrong, but I think Freiermuth is more likely. They paid Highsmith already, so we don't have to worry about Highsmith for them. So to me, it's Freiermuth, who is, like I said, been a big part of that offense, whether it's been with Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph. All right. Best draft fit. Amarius Mims. This was easy. They took Broderick Jones last year. And now there's another Georgia tackle that is slated to go into the late teens, early 20s. I love Mims. He's a big upgrade over former 4th-round pick Dan Moore Jr., who was awful. So, Amarius Mims, easy fit. J.C. Latham's also a fit. Maybe one of the corners, Cooper DeJuan, Cooley, McKinstry, Terry Allen Arnold. And by the way, I had Mims mocked the Pittsburgh in my second mock, and I had Cooper DeJuan mocked there the first time. I think even Keon Coleman's a sneaky Steeler candidate, but I think they're going to wait till a later round to draft the receiver. Quinyon Mitchell. I think even some of the guards like Troy Fatano or Jackson Powers Johnson. Kamari Lassiter's interesting. Now we're talking about second-round guys. Or even guys that they could potentially trade up or trade back in the first round again, like Tyler Guyton or Jordan Morgan or Graham Barton, who would be a good fit. Jonah Ellis, I think, would be somewhat interesting there. TJ Tampa. Jalen Polk makes sense for Pittsburgh. So does Braden Rice and Xavier Worthy. Devontae Walker. So yeah, there's some good draft fits for Pittsburgh. Free agent fit. This just screams Steelers. Darnold Mooney. Someone who's very flashy. Had some moments with Justin Fields on the Bears over the years. And now he's a free agent. Who knows? Maybe Chicago franchise tags him. But I doubt it because Jalen Johnson's also a free agent. He's a better player than Darnold Mooney. So Darnold Mooney will be on the market, and that just screams Steelers third-string wide receiver. I talked about Allen Robinson as a cut candidate for Pittsburgh, and they're losing Boykin as a free agent probably, so Mooney does make a lot of sense in Pittsburgh. There's other guys that fit. Jermaine Eleanor of the Raiders. I think that another decent fit would be Geno Stone of the Ravens, which would be funny if they signed a Raven. Mekhi Becton would be weird. Kenny Moore. I believe another decent fit would be Stephon Gilmore. I think that Chidobe Awuzie would be a good fit. Michael Winu. Trent Brown. Cameron Corral. If the Patriots somehow didn't franchise tag Kyle Duggar. So there are some interesting free agent fits sitting there for the Steelers, but Mooney is a really fun fit. And my bold prediction for this team is that they will acquire Jalen Ramsey from the Miami Dolphins for a 2024 second and a 2025 fourth. I think Miami's going to have to trade some of their veterans or cut them. Because they have a lot of guys they pay. They have to pay Tua. They have to pay Waddle. They have to pay Javon Holland. They have to pay Jalen Phillips. We talked about this on the Dolphins podcast. So, I think that the Steelers could be a taker for Ramsey. They have a need. I think there's a chance that Patrick Peterson's cut and Ramsey's an upgrade over him. They're going to lose Chandler Sullivan and Levi Wallace too. So, it only makes sense for them to trade for Jalen Ramsey, and which would be a big move for Pittsburgh to try to get back in the conversation in the AFC North. So some futures. Kenny Pickett probably has super long MVP odds. He's probably right where Daniel Jones is. He's 300-1 Daniel Jones is half of that. Saquon Barkley is 300-1 for crying out loud. That is so funny. Kyren Williams is 300-1. Jahmyr Gibbs is 300-1. AFC, they are 36-1. That's crazy. Super Bowl, they're 75-1, which is crazy. So they have some value, I think, in both conference and Super Bowl. Let's say if Najee is just awesome. Is there a world where he's like a potential candidate for Offensive Player of the Year? He'd be a really long shot, like 90-1 or something like that, maybe 100-1, 120-1 or something like that. Defensive Player of the Year, TJ Watt's gonna be one of the favorites. He's gonna be like 9-1 or something crazy like that. Minka Fitzpatrick, where'd he be, like 50-1? Just like a long shot for a defensive back. Why not? If they were to draft, say, Keon Coleman, he would probably be, 25-1 for offensive rookie. Defensive rookie, if they went with one of those Bama corners or Cooper DeJuan, I could see those guys being like between 18-1 and 20-1 for defensive rookie of the year. You also have Mike Tomlin, who's going to be one of the favorites for coach of the year, you would think. I think he's probably going to be like 15-1 or something like that. If he's 20-1 or higher, that's absolutely worth taking a shot because it's Mike Tomlin and he overachieves every single year. Never doubt that guy. He's the best coach in the league right now, arguably. It's between him and Andy Reid. So, comeback player of the year. There's nobody significant coming back from injury for the Steelers. TJ Watt was in and out of the lineup, but he was a defensive player of the year finalist for crying out loud. But yeah, there's no comeback player of the year candidate unless they acquire somebody or sign someone, kind of like a Joe Flacco situation, and then they're awesome on the Steelers. So, I guess that would be the case for a Steeler player for comeback player of the year. Win total. I think it's going to be 8.5. That's 8.5 written all over it. It's you're betting on whether Mike Tomlin's going to have a winning year or not. So I think Pittsburgh's going to be 8.5 because they're Pittsburgh. If they're lower than that, it's a shame. It really is. And then to win the division, they're going to be the fourth choice. That's just the reality of the situation. Joe Burrow's coming back. The Ravens were just the 1 seed. And the Browns had the best defense in the league for a while last year. And so Pittsburgh's probably going to be like 7-1 to win the North, maybe plus 750. And I would absolutely take a chance with that. I personally would make them 6-1. And I would make the Ravens the favorite at like plus 150. The Bengals right there at plus 175. I would put the Browns at maybe plus 270, plus 275, and at Pittsburgh I'd put at like 6-1. So that's how I would look at it right now, and anything over 6-1 I would bet for Pittsburgh. And is this a Bill Belichick team? I think this is a dark horse Bill Belichick team. If Tomlin finally has a losing season and there's fractions in the locker room and such, I could see them moving on, and maybe they bring on Belichick and then they get a veteran quarterback in there that is a win-now guy that's a free agent after 24. So that is something to watch as well. And then they trade Pickett somewhere. Who the hell knows? Or he could develop Pickett, and then they just build the roster around Pickett. So there you have it for Pittsburgh. Next up will be the San Francisco 49ers, your reigning NFC title champs.